Ever wondered what happened to the Nazis after World War II? The year is 1945 and the world is in a state of relief and uncertainty. World War II has come to an end, and with it, the downfall of the Nazi regime. Sweeping across Europe, the Nazis had imposed their reign of terror, but the tides of war eventually turned against them. The Allied forces, resilient and tenacious, pushed back against the Nazi onslaught, leading to the surrender of Germany. The Nazi military, once a formidable force, was disbanded, their weapons silenced, their banners lowered. The political institutions that had propagated the Nazi ideology were dismantled, their leaders either captured or in hiding. The world watched as the swastika, a symbol of fear and oppression, was torn down from buildings and institutions, symbolizing the end of a dark era. And thus, the reign of the Nazis came to an abrupt end. But what happened next? Following the fall of the Nazis, the Allied powers initiated a series of trials known as the Nuremberg Trials. These trials were no ordinary court proceedings. They were a bid to bring justice to the countless victims of the Nazi regime and were held in Nuremberg, Germany, where the Nazi Party had staged many of its massive propaganda rallies. The Nuremberg Trials were a landmark moment in legal history. For the first time, individuals, and not just states, were held accountable for breaches of international law. The trials were primarily against the major war criminals, those who held the highest positions of power during the Third Reich. These included Hermann Göring, Hitler's designated successor and founder of the Gestapo, and Rudolf Hess, Hitler's deputy in the Nazi Party. The accused were charged with 4 counts: crimes against peace, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and conspiracy to commit the aforementioned crimes. The evidence presented was staggering, with the prosecutors relying heavily on documents written by the Nazis themselves. After nearly a year of proceedings, the verdicts were delivered. 12 of the defendants were sentenced to death, 7 received prison sentences ranging from 10 years to life, and 3 were acquitted. The trials were not without controversy, with criticisms of victors' justice and legalistic issues. However, they set a precedent for holding individuals accountable for their actions during times of war. The Nuremberg trials also had a profound impact on the development of international criminal law. They led to the establishment of the United Nations Genocide Convention and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, creating a legacy that continues to shape our world today. The Nuremberg trials marked a significant step towards justice, but not all Nazis faced trial. Many escaped, and their stories of evasion, capture, or continued anonymity form the next part of our discussion. Many Nazis managed to evade capture in the aftermath of the war. This sentence might seem surprising considering the immense global effort to bring these war criminals to justice. However, it's a testament to the grim reality of the post-war years. The Nazis had been meticulous in their planning, even in defeat. They established escape routes known as rat lines, which helped them flee to far-off lands. Often, these routes led to countries in South America, such as Argentina and Brazil, where they could live in relative obscurity, shielded by sympathetic governments or communities. However, some chose to hide in plain sight, blending into the diverse populations of Europe itself. But the world was not entirely blind to these escapees. In response to the mass Nazi exodus, organizations like Odessa were established. This was not a nod to the Ukrainian city, but an acronym for Organisation der ehemaligen SS-Angehörigen, or the Organization of Former SS Members. Their mission was to hunt down these fugitives to ensure that justice was served no matter how late. Their efforts were not in vain. Many high-ranking Nazis were captured and brought to justice, their true identities revealed, and their atrocious past laid bare for the world to see. Take Adolf Eichmann, for instance, the architect of the Holocaust. He was captured in Argentina in 1960 by Israeli agents and was later executed following a highly publicized trial. Yet, despite these successes, many Nazis slipped through the net. They lived out their lives in quiet anonymity, never facing the consequences of their actions. This bitter reality only underscores the immense challenge of bringing all war criminals to justice and the sobering fact that some wounds of history may never fully heal. While many Nazis were captured and brought to justice, the legacy of the Nazi regime continued to linger. This lingering legacy, its societal impact, and the continued existence of Nazi ideology in the modern world will be our focus in the upcoming scenes. The aftermath of the Nazi regime had a profound impact on German and European society. The trauma of the Holocaust, an orchestrated genocide that led to the murder of 6 million Jews, left deep scars on the collective psyche of the continent. It was a grim reminder of the destructive potential of hate and intolerance. The post-war period was marked by a struggle to come to terms with this horrific past. Many survivors found it difficult to return to their pre-war lives, haunted by the memories of their lost loved ones and the atrocities they had witnessed. A large number of Jews emigrated, seeking a fresh start in places like Israel and the United States. In Germany, the process of denazification was initiated by the Allies to eradicate Nazi influence from all aspects of society. This involved a thorough examination of public officials and removal of those found to be active Nazi supporters. A new democratic constitution was established, and efforts were made to foster a culture of remembrance and responsibility. Across Europe, various forms of commemoration were adopted to ensure that the horrors of the Holocaust were not forgotten. These included the establishment of museums and memorials at former concentration camp sites, the observance of Holocaust Remembrance Day, and the inclusion of Holocaust education in school curriculums. However, the struggle with the remnants of Nazi ideology was not straightforward. In some circles, there was a reluctance to confront the past, while in others there were attempts to downplay or deny the Holocaust. The rise of far-right movements in recent decades has also seen the resurgence of anti-Semitic rhetoric and symbols, a stark reminder of the enduring appeal of hate and division. The societal impact of the Nazis was profound, but the ideology did not completely disappear. It morphed and found new expressions, reminding us that the fight against hate is a continuous one. It is a fight that requires constant vigilance, education, and the courage to stand up against prejudice and intolerance. Nazism, albeit shunned by the majority, still exists as an ideology today. The end of the Second World War did not mark the definitive end of Nazism. Instead, this dangerous ideology has found new life in various forms and manifestations across the globe. One of the most visible manifestations of neo-Nazism today is the rise of various groups that openly espouse Nazi beliefs. These groups, often characterized by extreme nationalism, racial purity ideologies, and a propensity for violence, have been known to cause significant social and political unrest. From the United States to Europe, and even as far as Australia, these groups continue to propagate a modern form of Nazism. Yet, it's not just organized groups that are a cause for concern. The resurgence of Nazi ideology can also be seen in more subtle ways. For instance, the increasing popularity of far-right political parties in certain parts of the world often correlates with a rise in xenophobic and racially charged rhetoric. Similarly, the normalization of hate speech on social media platforms has also contributed to the resurgence of Nazi ideology. Efforts to combat this resurgence are ongoing. Governments, nonprofit organizations, and individuals are working tirelessly to counteract the spread of Nazi ideology. This includes educational programs aimed at dispelling Nazi myths, legal measures to prosecute hate speech and hate crimes, and initiatives to promote tolerance and diversity. However, the fight against neo-Nazism is far from over. The persistence of Nazi ideology serves as a stark reminder of the enduring power of hate and the need for constant vigilance. As we reflect on the horrors of the past, we must also recognize the challenges of the present and work together to ensure that the destructive beliefs of Nazism are never allowed to flourish again. Despite the efforts to eradicate it, the specter of Nazism continues to haunt us. The aftermath of World War II for the Nazis is a complex and multifaceted subject. We've journeyed through the rigorous Nuremberg Trials, where key Nazi figures faced justice for their heinous crimes. We've traced the escape routes of those Nazis who managed to evade capture, fleeing to far-flung corners of the globe, and the tireless pursuit to bring them to justice. We've delved into the profound societal impact left in the wake of the Nazi regime, the struggle to grapple with the trauma of the Holocaust and the remnants of Nazi ideology. Lastly, we've explored the disturbing persistence of Nazism today, manifested in neo-Nazi groups and a revival of its ideologies. These aspects combined paint a broader picture of the aftermath of the Nazi regime post-World War II. Understanding what happened to the Nazis after World War II provides a crucial insight into the struggle for justice and the enduring legacy of this dark chapter in human history.